It's the fourth Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means? We're going to be welcoming in the embedded correspondents. We have the gentlemen's from your top left looking, Steve Ray from Tennessee. There's Doug Scheiding right there. He's our Texas correspondent in Texas, but the Oklahoma correspondent is David Huth, bottom left, and the gentleman from the state up north, and will be ongoing, Jon Solberg, who also happens to be the executive producer of the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less. Guys, I was just told by Christy Vanover that the dates for this year's Jack Daniel will be the weekend of October 26th. So while I did have a thought that Mike McLeod might be trying to flex his almighty competition muscles to see if a cook would decide to either go to the Jack or go to World Food Championships, they are not a competing. World Food will be the week in advance, and then the Jack after that. Steve, do you think that's a good idea? Should Mike not try to compete with the Jack Daniels?
I don't think the WFC competes with the Jack Daniels, Greg. It's two different animals.
Correct.
I don't think it mattered. I don't think it would matter.
My thought was that maybe he would try to go up against those dates on purpose.
I don't think when he set the date, it even crossed his mind.
Doug, your thought?
I don't think so.
I think it did probably cross his mind, but I think he was putting it out there because, like you, I couldn't find when the Jack was, and last year it was at the end of the month, but still was a possibility of some crossover between the two.
John, did you think he was going to angle for that or no? Are you on mute? John, I got nothing. All right, David Huff, how about you?
It seems kind of fishy that the dates ended up being the same. I don't know. It's a possibility.
No, they're not the same. One's a week. One's a week ahead of itself.
I misunderstood what you were saying then. My apologies.
That's all right. We have Steve, Doug. John, are you there yet?
I'm here.
Okay. Did you have a thought on any conspiracy or what?
I don't think it's going to be a conspiracy. Ultimately, the World Food Championship is going to crush most competition barbecue. So
really,
it's going that direction.
All right. Well, I'm not going to. Okay. That's probably a different topic for a different day. I know Doug certainly has a disagreeing opinion on that. Probably Steve does too, but because they're two different animals. David, do you have a disagreeing opinion on that as well? It's probably 3 against 2.
No, I don't have an opinion right now.
No opinion. All right. David,
I'm just too busy seeing Doug shaking his head that is cracking me up.
All right. David, you need to make sure you're talking that loud all the time. Otherwise, I'm going to have to let you go back to Texas. You're in Amarillo, right?
Yes, I am in Amarillo.
Okay. Okay. So first topic of this evening, gentlemen, is number 1, pellets. Can you really taste a difference in the type of pellet or the species of wood pellet? And let me go to Jon Solberg first. John obviously uses a number of cookers, but he does have a Green Mountain grill. So give me your thoughts, John.
I can't really find a different taste in different flavor blends unless I'm using mesquite. I can taste the mesquite pellet, but if I got a oak and cherry blend, a oak apple blend, a maple apple blend, I don't really taste the difference in the pellet itself.
Doug?
Yeah, I agree. Mesquite, you can taste a little bit of a difference. There is one Traeger blend called the Big Game Blend, and it has a rosemary. As you know, people know Traeger has a patent for oils in pellets. It has a rosemary flavor to it. I did an event for Traeger and smoked my brisket all night using the rosemary and Big Game Blend. You could taste the rosemary on the brisket. So in that case, yes, I could taste it. I actually do drink a bit of wine, and so I have somewhat of a discerning taste, but I can't really taste the variation in smoke very much on pellet. So I don't think it's as big of a factor as most people do.
Doug, I don't want to ask you a question that you can't answer, and I'm certainly not asking you to speak on behalf of Traeger. I can do that with Chad when he comes on the show. But as you had mentioned, they do have a patent on these oils that flavor wood pellets when I had pushed what was then Mr. Barbecue and the sales and marketing guy for Traeger Corporate, 5-10 years ago, whatever it was. He was completely unwilling to even talk about it. Do the current leadership of Traeger talk about it, or do they still not like to mention it unless it's brought up, or what?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything trying to hide it or cover it up or whatever. Do they promote it? No. But is it a big factor? No, for me, not really. To me, it's Traeger has control of their pellets from start to finish, and that's more of a factor than putting rosemary oil or whatever oils in the pellets.
David Huff, you run a very top line Yoder pellet cooker amongst others. What do you think about the pellets?
No, I can't really tell a difference in flavor, nor can I tell a difference necessarily from brand to brand. We might get into that, but from a flavor standpoint, unless it's pure hickory, I can taste that. But other than that, they all seem the same, especially when they get into competition blends where they're mixing 3 or 4 different types of wood in one pellet. It almost all runs together.
Steve, I know you don't have a pellet cooker per se, but I'm sure you have had to have sampled meat from a pellet cooker. I mean, it's not like only 2 or 3 people across the country have them. 4 out of the 5 of us actually own at least one pellet cooker.
Good for y'all.
What do you think about pellet cookers? Are you not a fan?
I don't have one. I don't know if I'm a fan or not because I've never used one. But I don't understand. They make all these flavors of pellets, and the panel says I can't really taste the difference in the pellets. And you go to the store and there's cherry, oak, spearmint, peppermint. I've got. Let me get to my favorite flavor of pellets. I like these pellets right here.
Kingsford charcoal?
That's the pellet that I use in my smokers. And you know what I use when I run out of that?
What?
I get these pellets.
Wow.
I got a guy in Ringgold, Georgia that makes these pellets for me. They're called sticks. And you can tell the difference. That's a oak stick. And you can tell the difference between an oak stick and a hickory stick.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I guess that's where the big question lies here. Let's quickly go around the panel. Steve, are you saying with 100% assurity that if I fired up my Lang offset cooker and cooked barbecue foods for you, and that is not a Kinger reference, that just happens to have rolled off the tongue, that if I used apple sticks and then went to hickory sticks and then went to oak sticks, that you would be able to tell me which species of wood that is?
I couldn't tell you which species of wood. I could recognize a taste if you cooked a different meat. If you put 3 meats in front of me, had apple, oak, and hickory, I could definitely taste a difference. So using real wood.
But
now,
I mean,
I would think that's what a pellet is, though, right, guys?
This is the argument that they're making, though, right? Is that even though there's all these flavors, they're not able to pick out exactly.
They can't tell the difference, but they make. I go to Walmart, I see a whole wall full of them. There's like 25 different flavors, but nobody can tell the difference. I don't get it. I don't get it.
All right,
here's the thing.
Go ahead.
A lot of pellets use a base wood. So depending on the regionality, so like here in Texas, I think the base wood is oak, 70%. So if you're getting hickory, you're using a base wood of oak, and then it's like 30-40% hickory. So there is a blending, just like Dave said, in terms of it all kind of blends together now. Now I do think that cherry may impart some a little bit of color. So a lot of people use cherry with ribs and things, and I do use apple with chicken and poultry. It is a little lighter, but I just don't mess with the pellets as a variable too much. I just use pretty much the same thing, like the Texas blend I use for most everything, and apple for poultry.
John, your thoughts?
I use the same kind of pellet all the time. I played around with them. I don't want to mess with it. I just want to put in. I use a maple cherry blend because it was the last time I bought a big batch. They were affordable. Michigan maple is the base wood for Michigan made pellets. But I can't tell you the difference between an oak pellet base and a maple pellet base.
Could you tell the difference if I cooked on a stick burner?
I think I could if you were cooking with some mesquite in there. Yes, but Hickory and oak, maybe, but other than that, no, I couldn't tell.
David, if I cooked on sticks or a pellet cooker, would you have the same issue discerning between species?
I think it would be easier on sticks for sure, just because the overall flavor is more intense. I mean, that's a lot of people that don't like pellet cookers. That's their number one complaint. There's not a strong enough wood flavor. And to Doug's point, the base of almost everything I can find here locally is oak with flavorings added. And I can tell a difference in flavor if I get 100. There are some people that make 100% pecan, 100% cherry in the pellets, and they're very expensive. And to John's point, I go to my local big box warehouse store, like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. I can get a 40-pound bag of pellets for 16. Actually, last time it was $14.99. That's a lot less expensive than if you're buying these blends that say they're 100%. And with the difference being so slight between the two, I'd rather buy twice as many pellets.
That's a good dovetail into the second part of this question, which is, do you see a difference in quality depending on, I guess, what would be a manufacturer, John?
I don't. I've used what I would say a low-end pellet, and I'm not knocking this pellet. It's Pit Boss. You know, it's a Walmart pellet. I use a high-end pellet now, and yeah, I can look at the pellet and see a physical difference in the pellet, but it doesn't perform any differently. I might get a little more dust in the bag, but for me, it's still wood. It's still going in the hopper, still going to go down the auger, it's still going to burn. So I find no difference in quality compared to taste.
Doug?
John, one question. When you say you see a physical difference in the pellet, what do you mean?
It's, you know, it may be a slightly different color. There tends to be smaller, maybe there's smaller pieces, you know, maybe there's more dust in the bag.
Okay. I actually do. 2-3 times I've used other pellets. I have found that particularly one brand in particular, which will remain nameless, produces a lot more ash. And I don't want that ash on my food. And so, you know, with Traeger pellets, and they're made specifically with the right amount of humidity. And if you'll notice, the new pellet should be shiny. That's why I was asking John in terms of, you know, it should be shiny. Once it starts absorbing some moisture from the air, et cetera, like if you've got an open bag or, you know, you haven't really stored it very well, it'll start to become dull. And then that's actually changing the pellet. And pellets, from what I know, have a shelf life of about 1 year. So I think there is definitely a difference in the quality of pellets just based on the amount of ash that it produces.
Steve, I assume you don't really have too much of an opinion here.
I've always got an opinion, Greg.
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, and then you know you don't really have too much to say.
I don't know about. I just don't know about it. I don't even know how they work. Doug said something about they don't put out as much ash. Do pellet cookers put out a byproduct, or what? I thought the pellets dropped went down a little tube into a little cup and burned, and where does it
just collects on the bottom?
It comes out of the bottom.
Yeah.
So there's a byproduct.
Yeah, just little, it's like
I don't know,
fly ash or something along these lines. I mean, it's not fly ash per se, but I mean, it's just, you know, burned, a lot less byproduct that you would get from, you know, burning regular sticks, I would say.
Doug,
for sure.
Can that get into the chamber of the smoker?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if it's producing a lot of ash, that is going to, you can actually see it. You can sometimes see it on the outside of the smoker. And then that's obviously getting on your food as well.
Well, I know in a gravity smoker, you have to. I went at a competition. I always fill mine up when it's halfway, because if you let it get too low, it'll create a lot of ash. It'll go into the smoker when you drop the charcoals down in the chimney, if they get a long way to drop. So
right,
same principle, I guess.
David, your thoughts?
I haven't seen a big difference in quality. The way the Yoder's designed, it has holes that gradually get larger the further away you are from the firebox. And so the closer where it is, where you're going to have more ash, it's less likely for the ash to actually come up into the food. So I really haven't seen that issue. The one thing I'd like to do is kind of run a test with different pellets to see if they burn any faster or longer, or if you get more time out of them. The problem that I've tried before And one time it was 32 degrees, and I felt like I went through 40 pounds of pellets in about 6 hours. And then in the middle of the summer when I'm cooking, I can make a 40-pound bag go through 3 or 4 cooks.
Sure.
So I'd like to see quality on the same type of day, like the same temperature, running in the same smoker. I'd like to see if one lasted longer than the other, but no discerning difference in anything else.
All right, yeah, I mean, I've used Green Mountain Grill pellets. I've used Traeger pellets. I've used Barbecue or Delight pellets, obviously cooking pellets. And I would say on the whole, now, cooking pellets does offer some of those 100% species wood. I think they have a hickory pellet. They might have something else. And they've been getting into a lot of other avant-garde flavors like the, apple mash jack pellet and stuff like this. But by and large, as Doug said, if it's not a batch that maybe got misplaced in the warehouse somewhere and it's got 4 years of age on it, I mean, this isn't like a California Cabernet that's going to get better after 5 years and 10 years. It's going to go downhill. Or water has gotten into it and expanded the pellets. Obviously, that's a bad thing. Really haven't noticed too much of a difference other than maybe some byproduct ash. So I'm not too concerned about. I just want to have access to some type of food-grade pellet should I need it. And that's my major concern. And then if there are some brands that I have a little bit easier access to that I'm partial to, then obviously I'll buy those.
Doug, can I ask you real quick, the Apple Jack pellet? I tried that. I was pretty disappointed. Like the concept of there being fruit particles in the pellet, I was really excited when I tried that. I couldn't tell any difference in that in, a regular apple wood pellet or cherry wood pellet. Could you?
No, I said apple pellets. I've never used Applejack. Sorry.
Great.
Yeah. Those are cooking pellets, right? The ones you're talking about? Okay. Yeah, I haven't used those yet, but I would like to get my hands on it for sure. Let's move to the second question. Favorite non-barbecue dishes or proteins for socials or parties, gatherings, what have you? And this will take us up to the first break. Steve, we'll start with you.
Anything bacon. I like to do homemade bacon. I like to do slices of bacon. I'll do burnt belly, pork belly burnt ends, and I love doing it. Just love anything bacon. And I've been getting into a little Chinese food lately. I'm not a chef type of Chinese. I open the bag and the frozen bag and throw it in the skillet. But that's a big deal for me because I've never tried Chinese food
ever
until the last. Well, no, not
what?
ever. It's like the last year and a half. I've just acquired a taste for it, and because as you get older, you guys will someday go through this. As you get older, your taste buds die. Like I can't taste a steak. The only thing I can taste on a steak is the butcher's barbecue rub and the any kind of a steak sauce that I might be using at the time.
What?
But with Chinese food, I can taste it.
Steve, have you been to the doctor? I mean, maybe this isn't, you hit 50 and your tongue dies. I mean, maybe you got a real issue.
No, I don't smoke. I don't do anything that would kill. It's just a natural thing. I've talked with my buddies and they say the same thing. But I'll tell you what, that orange chicken that these Chinese people make is just off the chain.
These Chinese people? What the hell are you talking about? These Chinese people.
Don't y'all have a Panda Express in Cleveland?
Oh my God! Yes, but
that's who works there. Are Chinese people.
All right,
so they're wonderful people.
Yes, of course.
They're wonderful. I mean, they cook. They got these huge woks back there, and they watch them on that gas thing. They hit that gas pedal, and the gas flies up everywhere. It's awesome. And the food tastes good too.
And you are just now finding your stride on Chinese food.
Yes, I know.
Never as a kid growing up,
no,
quick dinner.
Never got on my radar.
Beef and broccoli, nothing? Never got on your radar. Was there Chinese restaurants in Ooltewah?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Huh.
There's a couple, but I never went in them.
Interesting. So are you almost to the jump off point of doing a Chinese takeout?
Chinese takeout? What do you mean, ordering it to go?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. I go to the Panda Express right across the street. It's got a drive-through window.
All right.
I've got those. I have those little boxes here. I use the little Chinese boxes all the time.
Look, I want to put you on assignment for next month. I want you to go to get Chinese takeout, and then I want an evaluation. That's an assignment.
I bought chopsticks too. I know how to use chopsticks now too.
I don't know how to do that, but I mean, I've had Chinese food for as long as I can remember. Oh my goodness! All right, guys, we're going to get to the rest of you here in just a minute. Let me do a little quick read for the gang over at Traeger. That's right.